Yeah.
I feel like we're running. It's a lot of breathing in the microphones today.
A bit puffed.
Just walked from the kitchen counter to the couch.
Yep. Cool. Welcome to Small Willies and Big Egos.
Episode
Episode 3
3.
would be 4, but I fucked the last one up.
Unfortunately, 3 was a bit crackly. And we did actually reach out to our combined 2,500 Instagram followers.
Checked out with some sound engineers, but nothing's come to fruition right now.
You beat me to it.
Yeah, I always do.
Welcome back. Today, I have felt tired, I said to you, which I felt came from a little bit of overwhelm, but I don't exactly know what it was about, but I'm feeling a lot calmer now. Want to acknowledge we are a week post our True North immersion experience, so good segue to lead in to start our podcast today. Jacob, how are you feeling after having 3 incredible days with a group of men? How are you feeling? How's your energy? And what's coming to you to start today?
Yeah, I feel like my energy's coming back online. It was a lot to hold for 3 days, and feeling super nourished, proud, excited. Really fulfilled from the weekend, and also just taking a bit of time to land back into reality, into work, into doing some of the things that I actually don't really want to do, but give myself some time to celebrate, to integrate, to process, move through, and enjoy bathing in what was. I think that's important to slow down, acknowledge what we went through, and specifically for myself, being able to hold that energy for 3 days and feeling stable and strong in that, and really excited for future retreats, future possibilities of Melbourne and New Zealand and all those sort of things. So just trying to slow down with the presence of that time instead of trying to rush through to get to somewhere else.
Can you give us the phrase? I don't want to butcher the phrase. What was our phrase from the weekend?
Nowhere to get, nothing to be.
That's it. Nowhere to get, nothing to be. Coming back to work on Tuesday, or if you think about the week, how have you embodied that phrase this week?
Especially with work, I always want to get to the end because it's not where I want to be. But if I've got nowhere to get, it doesn't necessarily matter about where I am right now. Yeah. And just honoring the fact that I choose where I am every day. And being at work is part of what I'm choosing for myself right now, and not having to get anywhere. It's like, cool, just be present with what I'm needing to do right now to achieve what I want in the future.
Yeah. Nowhere to get, nowhere to be. 10, 11 men. Yep. We were away last weekend. Piece for me that has dropped in is around men and being tough.
Yep. So
today I want to start off by asking you, as a man, what does toughness mean to you?
Softness. For me, it's softness. It's a ability to be vulnerable in the face of adversity, in the face of challenges, projections, and judgments. It's like, how willing are we to come back to love and softness and compassion and care, which creates stability and power and strength constantly. It's, if we can sense our vulnerability and our love to a higher essence, I feel like there's so much power and strength and staying power in that ability. So for me, it comes back to softness. I feel like that's something that I'm journeying with right now, with my penetrative love, my fierce love, and now the undercurrent of that is tenderness.
Yeah.
care and love, and how much can I love someone through whatever they're going through, instead of it needing to be about me or be about something. So yeah, the power comes from my ability to soften, to be able to respond, not react. And it's just an ever evolving power, is my ability to soften.
Yep. Beautiful.
What about you?
Beautiful answer. Toughness has definitely changed for me. While you were talking then, toughness for me comes from slowness. And slowness comes from love, which is an ability to be able to navigate a situation. So, for example, being a primary school teacher, toughness originally, what I was shown of toughness from my teaching and role models in life was the ability to be able to stand in front of a class and I do, now you do.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do, then there's going to be consequence in that. So I always thought that toughness was just, even when you can't do something, it's just necking up.
Yeah,
It's being tough. Yeah, it's working through things, and it's finding an answer straight away. Or if you don't like the answer, that's just the way it is.
It's funny how it was tough love. Tough love.
Tough love.
To if you just reverse it, love gets you tough.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I love that. That's so much nicer. So slowness, for me, an ability to be able to be tough comes from slowness, because the answer isn't about my ego.
What does slowness mean to you?
Slowness means an ability to be able to drop into my feelings at that point and acknowledge that, and acknowledge how I feel. So not shunning if I'm angry, not shunning if I feel sadness. It's an ability to be able to slow down in that moment, acknowledge, and not always have to give an answer straight away in any situation. That's going from my students at school. That's coming to you with always wanting to throw to you the first answer. The big piece of me that's just dropped in was on the retreat. I'd read my poem and you asked me for a word that you wanted me to write about. The first poem was around shame. And at the end of the process, or the weekend, the processes on the weekend, you asked me what's the new word that drops in for you. And as I said before, I don't remember what the first word that came in, but it dropped in straight away, boom. And I was like, that's the one. And then I'm like, no, stop.
Yeah,
that's not the one. And so then I took time, and then I had this myriad of words, and I'm like, I don't have a word now. I don't have any words. Now I'm getting overwhelmed.
Nobody get.
Yep. Now I'm getting anxious. Now all the men are looking at me and they're looking for a word. And then I slowed down again to another level, and then boom, nourished. Came in straight away. I am nourished from this weekend. And so therefore what slowness means to me is it's an ability to slow down my emotions. So I believe that my next step in this growth phase of toughness, or learning to be a better man, is to be able to acknowledge emotions in any given moment, and acknowledge that they're there. Try to maybe find out why they're there, if they're there because of my little boy, or if they're there because there's a part of me that has felt this before. But then also being able to be slow in my delivery, if it's for another person, but even slow in my delivery for myself.
Yeah. The external stuff is always present though. So the reason why we want to be quick is like, everyone's looking at me, got to give the answer. I'm good. I can actually find the answer really fast. But yeah, it's not true. It's not necessarily that it's not true. It would have been true for you in that exact moment that you delivered it, because that would have been the thing that was present. But there's always another layer of depth and inquiry and curiosity of, just something that is more present and more true and more alive. And sometimes the first thing that comes to us isn't that. It's just a reaction. It's the quicker we respond to something, it's just a reaction. We haven't given it the moment and time to just like, what has this whole weekend meant for me?
Yeah.
Not, oh yeah, that's what it meant. Just, I love slowness. We've been talking about that a lot.
We have.
And I've been delivering it to all the men, to my partner, to everyone in my life. Slow down. What does that mean? It means tapping into your heart, sitting with actual slowness, not going for a run, not going to dance, not going to a ceremony, not doing something, actually just stopping, slowing, talking to our hearts and listening to what it has to say. And it will always guide us. And Slowness means, just the ability to stop, to actually get more concise and be more present in the things that you need to do and achieve. And if we don't slow down, we can't actually distill what that is.
You said before about moments, which is a good segue into something that I'd scribbled down on my notes earlier today around, I've heard a lot of people recently talking about moments in life. So, we've spoken about birthdays, weddings. So we talk about these moments, these big ticket items, these moments we have in life. And then when we think back on moments in our life, are we actually creating a moment in time, or are we creating a feeling? And I ask you that around when you think back on moments that have been significant in your life, can you remember direct dialogue in those moments, or are you remembering how the moment made you feel?
Yeah, it's definitely how it made you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like nostalgia.
Yeah.
You don't know the words that were said, but you know the feeling.
Mm.
It just evokes something in you. I think that's what memorable moments are. They make you matter. They make the moment matter. They're more sincere. They're more truthful.
Yeah.
They're more alive. It's an essence of a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, important memories and moments are, is, capturing that. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling. Fuck. I can't remember what you did, but it was just so funny. Like, moments are feelings.
Can you tap
Feelings
in?
in time.
Can you, if you close your eyes for me, can you tap into a moment now from your childhood that made you feel just really happy?
This is like completely a bit of a weird thing, because it's not necessarily something that made me happy, but I'm reflecting on it with laughter now.
Yeah.
And it's just really beautiful. So my dad, Brad Sexton, was a friend of my family's, my mum's. We lived with him for a little bit, and I've been looking for him on Facebook for 30 years.
Yeah.
And my dad sent me a photo last week of this guy with a beard. He's like, look at this guy, look at the smile. You know who that is? And I was like, no. He's like, it's Brad. He's like, I'm going to his birthday on the weekend. I was like, oh, wow. And so last night, my dad and Brad were trying to ring me at 1:30 a.m. They probably both had a few drinks, and I haven't spoken to Brad in 30 years. But I was driving to the shop before, and I had this memory of Brad. Something had happened at home with me and Mum, and I was in trouble. I was in a lot of trouble, and Mum put the biggest spoon of cayenne pepper in my mouth and said to Brad, like, we had to go get fish and chips from the fish and chip shop, and Mum's like, take him with you. He does not have any water. And I'm like hanging out the side of the fucking car with the air on my mouth, like.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then we get to the fish and chip shop, and I'm in the car park at the tap, like just putting water in my mouth. And I was like, I haven't thought of Brad for so long, but that was the thought that came yesterday. And it's like not necessarily like a fun memory, but it's funny memory, and it's a funny feeling. And I remember just like how traumatic that was, but how funny it was at the same time. And Brad's like, you can't have any water.
I love that.
Yeah. So it was interesting that was obviously present, because that's a conversation that I'll have with Brad when I actually speak to him on the phone. Like, do you remember that day?
I really do love hearing a good story. And the reason that I asked you this was because it's something I've been doing a lot with my students at the moment when we're talking about being mindful. A really simple way for anyone that's listening to be able to tap back into your present time and to slow your thoughts down is just an ability to be able to think about a moment in time that you've had, and it actually slows your thought process down. It can bring a feeling that's aligned with it. And then there's ability to be able to tap back into maybe where you are in this space.
And that can also be very hard for a lot of people, is to think of good memories. For me, it's quite difficult. Mm-hmm. It's quite difficult for me to track childhood moments that make me feel great outside of football and like community like that. So that can also be challenging. Mm-hmm. And if it is quite challenging, it's a gateway to of things that you can work on, or things that are closed off. You know, you've said that you've had a lot more things starting to come through memory wise since we've been working together. It's because you now have the capacity to remember them, and then like the more we work past grief or things that are stored negatively, we open up the doorways to the happy and vibrant memories of fun.
So that's going back, but going forward in time, which is obviously something we can't do, but we tend to enjoy to do.
Yes.
We have these moments now that are coming up. Okay, so we could have, for example, you're going overseas.
Yes.
Whether or not I've got my birthday in 4 weeks. So these moments, like I'm supposed to wake up on the 21st of July, right? And it's supposed to be my fucking day.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so
Better book a retreat.
Everything in that moment, in that day, is supposed to be special because that's my day. That's my 41st birthday. How do we then navigate on those days? Wedding day, first day. We always say the day your first child's born, or when you have your children. That's the greatest day of my life. This is that'll be the greatest day of my life. Then it's not the greatest day of your life.
Yeah.
And then, like we've spoken about, we're looking for the outcome from the day. What can we do in those moments?
What's the question?
The question is, when we feel like we've put an expectations in life, we're putting expectation on things to be great. Your wedding day is supposed to be the greatest day. The day that your son or your daughter is born is the greatest day. And that day is not the greatest for you. And you've put all these expectations on these days.
I'd simply say stop living in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like fucking just cut that shit out.
Okay.
Be inspired by what can happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we're thinking about how beautiful something's going to be in the future, we're missing the beauty of the current times right now.
Yeah.
And, and if you're not overly happy with the current times, change them.
Beautiful. I probably built that question up in my head a little bit more.
That was going to be powerful, potent. And we're going to I was like, stop thinking about the future.
Yeah.
It's a big one for me. Like I'm inspired by like marriage and children and but if I kept pressuring that now, it wouldn't be very exciting for me.
Yeah. I like to think that, that I have people in my life that inspire me and have influence on my life. For you right now at the moment, who do you feel is the most influential person in your life right now that's really helping you or inspiring you or guiding you?
Yeah. I don't know if it's arrogant to say me.
I was actually hoping you were going to say that.
Yeah. I feel like it's me right now. I feel super inspired by my capabilities and capacities to hold, see, navigate, help, nurture, love, care, everything around me right now, and keep coming back to a place of like 0 point and centeredness. And I'm not looking for much external validation or wisdom outside of myself right now. I'm always observing and receiving medicine from you men, from group, from Maya, from all the people that are in my life. I'm never like putting myself on a pedestal, but right now I'm feeling like I have all the things really at a like internal reach for me to just grab onto, hold, and be like, okay, cool, that's how I need to navigate that. That's how I need to navigate that. And always, I lent on Circle last week.
Yeah.
And that inspires me. So I inspire myself in that, to know that when I need help, I ask for it, or I reflect and I'm like, hey, bros, I just want to, I spoke for an hour on Tuesday, and
I
didn't necessarily got heaps of reflections. There was a few like key ones, but everyone actually, well, no, there was a few, probing questions. But a lot of them I've already circled through, I've already like, oh yeah, cool, that's that. I'm doing this now. So when people ask me questions, I'm like, I give X, Y, and Z, and they're like, yeah, cool, you're on top of seeing that. So I'm really inspired by the way I'm showing up in life at the moment for me. Social media is for service, but it's like, it's in a way that feels organic and nourishing for me. My relationship, it's got its challenges, and the way I'm showing up in that, the way I'm showing up for my friends, and I'm proud and inspired by me at the moment.
That's really beautiful. I was hoping that you were going to say you. I formulated the question from a podcast that I'd recently listened to. Billy Slater was on there, and I've got another reference which I want to ask you about as well today. But the question was for him. Billy Slater is Queensland fullback and the coach of the Queensland Maroons, and I found that it was a really wonderful podcast to listen to because we look for someone to motivate us or to influence us constantly. Okay, so we read the books, we listen to the podcasts, and I think they're all beautiful ways to nourish our brain and to learn new things. But to get off the couch and to do the thing or to have the conversation, whatever it is, the thing that you need to do, you're the only person that can influence. I believe you're the person that actually influences yourself to do it.
Yeah.
You actually have to go inside and go, am I willing to continue going through these patterns? Like we've got a brother who needed to change patterns and needed to check in every day and change patterns. He had to influence that even when he stated that it was so fucking hard just to pick up, I shouldn't say just for him, to pick up the phone every morning, check in of an evening and just change one small pattern.
Yeah.
And I know we go back to Atomic Habits, we go back to all these things. And as I say, they're all wonderful. They're all starting points, but it is the ability to be able to hold yourself accountable. And we've got men, and this is why I truly believe, and I want fucking people to listen, especially men. Men need fucking men in their life to converse with, to be held by, to be confronted with, to be ego checked, and to take a moment to learn how to breathe. But the ability to be able to influence, take on information, process, as you always say, know where to be, take your time, and then actually pivot or change your direction and influence your outcome in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's so many people still fucking doing so many courses. Like, oh my God. I was speaking to a friend the other day and like, I've just found the next thing. I found the thing that's for me. Yeah. I'm like, you found the thing that's for you fucking 20 times over. When's the thing going to be the thing that you know? Like, and inherently for me, it's the fear of actually just doing the thing. We're doing the next thing because we don't have the ability and courage to just be like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if it works or fails. It's like fucking so many modalities out there and so many people doing the same stuff and then teaching the same stuff. And that's why I'm so grateful that I work with Jacob, is like the ability for me to come back and be like, I took parts of that I liked and I took parts of this. And now I've just gone away and formulated what it is that I'm here to do and how I want to show up. And I don't feel like I'm needing so many more people's pieces of information or transformation tactics. It's like, I work with my clients, I work with my men, and I see the power and the potency and what's happening and the change, and just following that. Following my heart, my intuition on how I lead and how I show up. Yes, there's probably more things that I need to learn, more books that I'll read. And I've got 30 fucking years to do that. Yep. But I'm not going to spend the next 10 years doing courses.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why I'm going overseas, to experience life, connection, culture, art, people, different, to see what comes through as an embodied state. That's what I talked about on the retreat. It's like everything we did was just embodied. Yeah. We didn't do much theory. We didn't talk about lots of different things. It's like we're doing. People are, oh wow, that just happened. Yeah. We didn't talk about it happening.
Another piece from the weekend that really was a significant part of the retreat for me was around not hoping that a process was going to land. So constantly you and Luke had spoken about the fact that there's lots of processes that we can do, and for people out there that are listening or viewing, where I like the piece that Jacob spoke about. It's like, there's this process and we're going to do this process now. And I've heard of that process. And I really hope that I get out what I need in this process. And one of the things that I found was we had Liam reference. What's Liam's last name? O'Gorman. So met Liam, absolutely wonderful, beautiful brother. And we went through a huge piece around the 4 elements. And I really struggled in Liam's piece.
Yeah.
I felt like I was disconnected. I felt like I was tired. I felt like
It's because slowness actually takes energy.
Hmm.
What he was showing, this is the thing, is like distractions actually use less energy. They're more adaptable, and they're more like, I can move through this. Like, oh, there's things happening.
Yeah.
But when you actually have to sit in presence and stillness, it's like, oh, fuck, this actually just takes a lot more of my heart energy, my brain energy to sit here, absorb and listen. Yeah, I seen when you were looking at the rock, I reckon, for a moment. While he was talking, you were just like,
yeah, I was
like, all you need to do right now is just sit here and be. And it's like just seeing the tension and everyone be like, oh, wow, this is a lot. It's a lot to do nothing.
I know.
And just be present.
Yeah. I found Liam's one of the more challenging ones, but the potency, the reason I say this is because I'm like, I probably didn't get too much out of that. And then I was down swimming in Currumbin Creek the other morning. I'm like, oh, the water's cold. And then Adrian had said, the water's not cold. You are the water. And so therefore I feel the cold from the water going into my body. And then I was deep up to my neck in the water, and I was lying there and looking at the sunrise, and I just thought, well, I am actually all these elements, because one day when I pass away, and whatever analogy you come up with, I won't get too much into Liam's process, but the whole idea was that you're broken down eventually and you'll become, a mineral in the earth, and then you may end up back in the water and you will be the water. So that water that I was in very well could contain dinosaurs and everything else that's around us. So it depends how far you want to open up your mind, right? And how deep you want to go. But the whole idea was, for the moment, in that morning when I had finished some exercise, and I'm usually super disassociated to everything. And I'm like, I've got the next thing where I'm going to go to school now. I'm going to do my planning, and I'll jump on my phone and I'll send my email, because I'll make sure I send my email, because then I'll have all my stuff to do for the day. It was gone. Yeah. Again. And so like we've spoken about, what does slowness mean for me, going back to what you talked about before? Yeah. It's actually taking the moment to slow as I speak about the students, my monkey brain, my cymbal banging, that's boom, 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 going to the next thing. It's actually going, hey, there's just you, and there's just some water here. Not just, there is you here. There is water here. There is the sunrise, and you are all those things, and they are you. Yeah.
And it's okay to be cold.
Yeah. It's interesting when we go, if we think about, I was actually just dropping into Indigenous Australians and how our First Nations people would have viewed themselves, probably sitting in the water and being more present and respectful. African tribe uses the word Ubuntu, and the English terminology or Translation, that's the word, thank you.
I can translate that for you.
Okay, so Ubuntu means I am because we are.
I am because we are.
So that's the phrase, I am because we are.
Yeah.
The reason that I wanted to share this with you is because that's how I view you. So I just want you to take a moment and I'll explain why.
Yep.
So I'm sitting here and I am me because you provide a space, or you've provided a space to help me learn. You've cultivated, you've been through so much, and you've created a men's circle and a men's space. But that's just not it, Jacob. It's you as a human being and you as your presence. And I believe that I am here and feeling so much better because we are here and you've allowed me to come in. And my whole idea of this comes back to, and the reason that this touched me was because you have cultivated in me, and I can't speak for a lot of other people, but the ability to be able to come back to love. So I am love because we are love. I am brave because we are brave. I am calm, or I'm learning to be calm because we are calm. And so the idea from this is that you always speak about the medicine that is able to be delivered. the reason the medicine is able to be delivered is because you provide a space where the we turns into the I.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just wanted to share that. That was a moment from the same podcast, and that was the word that Billy Slater had actually brought into the Queensland Rugby League team. And I've been referencing that a bit today because I feel like rugby is still a sport, or a manly sport, where we constantly put, firstly, these men on a pedestal. Secondly, we speak ill of the way that rugby players or football players are seen in the public eye. And I think it's really important to, as I know, spending time on the weekend with a group of brothers that have been through all different spaces, been in different sports, been around, had very different upbringings, and then the ability to be able to come back to that saying, I am because we are. It really softens something in me, the ability for me to come back to, you know, thinking about my teaching staff around me. You know, they are because I am, like the way I'm turning up and the way that I'm bringing medicine and nourishment to the team allows them to be who they are. And it's the flow-on effect. It's what you talk about. It's not the circle. It's not Jacob the coach.
But it is as well.
Yeah, to a point. But that's where it starts.
Yeah.
It starts.
Yeah, well, I'm just fucking guiding people back to themselves, really. Guiding them back to how I feel about myself. Yeah, we're all the same.
Yeah.
We've got the same shit going on. I'm no different or no better or... Yeah, I'm a space holder. I'm an inviter. I'm a guider for you to step out of the things that hold you back and see the true you. And I'm just a mirror, really. I'm just a mirror for men to see a different version. I'm not going to say a better version, but it's like there's a different version of themselves because, we inherently all have the things within us that make us really special. It's just how much can we see them and how much can we remove the veils of bullshit that hold us there. And I feel like space holders like myself are just here to just seep through the veil of bullshit.
I'm going to change where we've been. I've got a question that I've struggled with in my life and something that's been present for me lately. So pivoting out of talking about
Just pivot, bro.
what do boundaries mean to you?
Don't come in and don't go out. What do boundaries mean to me? I feel like boundaries are a way for us to stay safe in our reactions. We create boundaries so that there's a yes or no, a right or wrong. You did bad, I did good. I feel like boundaries at times put in incapacity to see different things. Yeah, I feel like boundaries make things black and white, which I believe that there is a time and place for black and white. But I feel like everything's so like variable. And what is the design of the boundary? Yeah, I feel like there's desires, but boundaries just make hard no's.
Okay.
Which I believe you're allowed to have them. But for me, a hard no just means I'm not secure in something maybe, and I create a boundary so that it's like I don't have to deal with that. And if it gets stepped over, then there's no going back. My choice is made, and that just doesn't feel right to me.
What do you think? Okay, so if we look at boundaries being, a hard no or a strong yes, what gets in the way? What do you believe gets in the way of people's boundaries? In essence, then, because there's a lot of time where, if people are at a starting point where they can't put boundaries, like for me, that it's been very difficult. Like I being a people pleaser, being a person that constantly is in service to others, and that's what I truly believe. That was my job here, just to serve others. And once I'd started to do work with you to realize that I'm of no service to anyone, if I'm not of service to myself,
Mm.
then how do people navigate then, or what gets in the way of them actually starting to set some boundaries? Like I had to set some hard boundaries
Yeah.
in my life with some things to start to cultivate a new version of me. Like for example, porn. Like I'm happy to have a discussion around where my leaky energy, because I wanted this to lead into leaky energy.
Yeah, cool.
And around,
Go into what I was talking
yeah,
about.
around our boundaries. So for me to stop the flow on of this leaky energy in my life in some areas, I needed to set an accountability, which was a boundary for myself.
Wasn't a hard no though, and wasn't a hard yes though.
I felt that it was a hard no inside of me, but now,
Yeah, but it wasn't because you didn't
Yeah.
do it and you
No.
didn't uphold on it.
yeah,
So it was like it's a variable.
it was.
It
But
turns into like a desire to not want it until you keep
Okay.
breaking those desires, and then it's like, cool, now it's not something I do.
Mhm.
A boundary is like, and at times probably it was a boundary for you because you then shamed yourself for breaking it. It's because it was a hard no.
Yeah.
It's like, you said you weren't
Yeah, I
going to
like
do
that.
the thing. So
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
like
well,
that.
if we just create it as a desire or something that we're trying to be better at or not do, it's like, well, then when we fail it or we don't make the target, it's like, cool, I didn't do that this time. Cool, I'm gonna strive to create this new pattern again. Instead of being like, that was a boundary. I said I'm a man and I'm a man of my words, and I
Yep.
said I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm a piece of shit now because I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So
And that's definitely how I felt.
yeah,
So how do
because
we
you
soften?
set a boundary.
How do we soften then, Jacob, as men? So speaking from a male sense, and I know there's going to be people, they're going to be listening, they're going to be going, well, how the fuck do I change? I do all these things. I can't stop myself. And when I do, like I'm going to give up the drinks for a week. And then I have one drink and now I'm a fucking piece of shit.
Accountability with compassion is like having people around you that can nourish you when you slip off the thing that you said you're going to do. Because it's like anything that's a challenge is never going to be a hard, like clean slate, bang, done. Maybe that's a belief of mine, but it's an experience of mine. It's always come in cycles and in patterns and softening and being like, yeah, done it.
Okay.
And yeah, I would just believe set things that you want to do,
Okay.
not boundaries of things you don't.
Yep.
Because it's like it's easier to work towards something than to just stop something. For me and you with the porn, it was like, I'm not going to do this. Cool. I did it.
Yep.
Cool, because you haven't decided what you are going to do.
Yeah.
You haven't implemented the things that are going to help you navigate the cold turkey of the porn.
Yeah.
Which didn't need to be a boundary. It's like, cool, I'm going to supplement X for Y so that I can move through that with more care, compassion for myself, and know that I might stumble.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Can you explain to, and this is, this has been profound for me, and you spoke about profound drop-ins for you with processes, but this is something that I truly believe in. Can you explain about leaky energy? Because I think this is just one that we don't actually understand. Like Can you explain to the listeners what is leaky energy?
Yeah, this is transpired over the last day for me as well around this judgment on leaky energy as well. And I've actually just shifted. I think there's multiple views on this. And leaky energy is when we're focusing externally on things that fill gaps in our desires, I suppose, or our love for ourselves. And it's like when we're outsourcing things to make us feel a certain way, and we're doing it in a way that doesn't necessarily feel congruent or alive within us, and it feels leaky, and it's like, I don't really trust that. It's not what I want to be doing, but it's what I'm doing, so it feels leaky. I was having a chat with a bro yesterday around like being in partnership and being in union and desiring other women. We're talking about polyamory, we're talking about lots of different things, and me and him were talking, and I was just like, if we start to notice more women, or we start as a man being more in tune to the women on Instagram and all that sort of stuff, and it's like we were sitting there going like, why does that happen? Like, even if you're single. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily if you're in a relationship, but it's like, where are we not being nourished in the undercurrent of desire that's there? You know, for me, yeah, there's a lot going on with my relationship at the moment. And yeah, I felt myself yesterday feeling or thinking about other women. And I was like, oh, I'm desiring that, but I'm actually desiring this with my partner. I'm wanting to be nourished more in my relationship in this area. I'm not desiring anything elsewhere, but it's showing itself for me. The leakiness comes from like, oh, I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
But there's honesty in just being like, oh, okay, I can feel that. I want to take that back to my partner. I want to take that, what feels like leakiness, and be like, I actually just want to be more intimate. I want more nourishment from you. I want more nourishment from us. So yeah, that's been present. And it's just, I feel like the softening that came with that awareness was really nice. I was like, oh, I'm actually not being leaky. I just want more nourishment. And I wonder if, my partner or my friends are feeling that desire externally because they're not getting nourished by me. Yeah. And how can I nourish, or how can I be more open around these yucky feelings so that I can make sure the people around me are feeling nourished by me? Yeah.
It's been a huge one around awareness for me, the leaky energy, the way in which I deliver my energy on a daily basis to my students, and then the way that I was trying to serve my own desires and needs of an evening. And I've mentioned to you that something that I'd done, I sort of did a little bit of a test on myself, was for a whole week, I pretty much had the afternoons free, apart from men's circle evening. And so I sort of went home and I sat on the couch and I watched, whether it was some YouTube shorts, or sorry, not YouTube shorts, but just YouTube videos. And then while I was doing that, I was having a bit of a scroll on Instagram and just sort of going, oh, well, this is my time. I deserve this time. And this is something that I like to do in my downtime. And I noticed that every evening I did that, I'd spend probably 20 to 30 minutes, which is a really long time on Instagram for me. But I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take off the lid and sort of do whatever I want to do. I was so tired in the evenings. Yeah. Like I just felt mentally tired. And then I felt that every sort of 10 or 15 minutes I wanted to reopen, because I've got a timer on my Instagram. I wanted to reopen and I just wanted to check. And it was sometimes without me even realizing.
It's the endorphin. It's like, I'm tired. I know.
Yeah. And that's right. And so then when I stopped and I implemented just reading a book, and it was hard. It was fucking hard to start. Yeah. Just reading. I'm like, I don't know if I can read this book. I'm trying to jump on Instagram because that's my relaxing time. Yeah. And then as soon as I did that, and I noticed such a shift, and I said to you, I still allow myself to have my Simpsons or Family Guy. I have a couple of episodes, an enjoyment of them. But there is always a moment every evening, or when I get home, I'll usually take myself down to Dad's pool, have a swim, or just put my legs in the pool, put some cool music on that I like, and then I'll go back upstairs and have a shower and have a lie on my bed and pull my book out. And just the difference in how I was feeling, the difference in my ability to be able to go to sleep, but then the way in which I woke up, I'm waking up the next morning too. Yeah. So really that was a really interesting piece for me, and because it was leaky, and you called me on it. It's like, what are you doing on there? Yeah. And I was like, oh, I just was looking at this, and then, oh, mate, this chick came up, and I was, and I tell you, and then I was like, and I could have just added like 5 of them and just slid into their DMs, and you're like, oh, cool story, bro. Yeah. As Adrian would say, a few more dragons, but like you have just leaked out, and that was my ability to be able to understand, like, you've just leaked out all this energy when you turn up to the gym, or to like a run club.
And it doesn't have to just be situated around women.
No.
Like that's, leakiness is just, where are you using your energy where it's not fucking needed, and where can you cultivate that within yourself to get more potency out of life and more direction and drive and creativity around the things that you actually care about, instead of being like in this limbo of, I'm tired, or I'm getting endorphins. It's like, how much better can our energy be used to achieve the things that we want to achieve, or create more stillness or potency? Yeah.
And the leakiness actually just dropped in for me with my exercise. And, the idea of not nourishing myself through more sleep, like we'd spoken about, and actually being aware but a leakiness in waking up saying I have to go for this run. So that's, I guess that's another piece. I don't say I guess, that is another piece for me where leakiness can be for me, is where I'm actually not nourishing myself. I get to a disassociative state. So yeah.
Sick.
Growth.
Have you got any other questions?
I don't have any other questions. Well, I had a question, but it's you've answered a lot of the questions that I wanted to go through today.
Sweet. I just want to liven things up a little bit. I just want to So I just want to, I want to talk about the retreat a little bit.
Yep.
Mainly because it's important for me to get reflections and I just want to know, what was the essence that you took from the retreat?
As far as essence, like what did I take?
If you had to say to someone,
Yep.
this is the essence of Jacob's retreat, what would it be for you? And don't answer it that makes me feel good. Just answer your truth, whatever it is.
Connection through vulnerability. Leaning into discomfort. Realizing that parts of me had switched off due to what society was telling me, and the big one being that rage and anger that I had squashed for a really long period of time because it was shameful to be that person, that recultivated in me in a safe space, safety.
Yeah, safety is an interesting one. I'm starting to play in the fields of not knowing and what is safety.
Yeah.
Because, like we talked about, I don't want to create a space that's just safe.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, vulnerability comes from a place of not feeling safe. Vulnerability, everyone talks about this. Everyone's like, I feel open and vulnerable because I feel safe. It's like, well, if you felt safe, you wouldn't be vulnerable. Is that not true?
No, it 100% is true.
That just came through to me then. It's like, well, I'm so vulnerable. It's like, well, why? If you feel safe, what are you vulnerable about?
So my big piece for me that just dropped in was the rage process just then. I was scared not only to step into the rage process, extremely fearful to step into the rage process, but there's part of me that knew inside that I had to relinquish control.
Yeah.
To you and to the other men.
To you.
And to myself.
To you mainly. It was releasing control to you.
Yeah.
Not me. I just stood there. You had to let go of you.
Yeah. Well, that's the fear. So it's almost like I grew safer being me. So if I think of my body like my home, so this is lights are on, heaters on, family's intact.
Yeah.
For a long time, the lights were off. It was cold.
Yeah.
I had no family.
Yeah.
And so to step into such a huge process, the lights were on and the family was there, but there was a part of me, there was maybe 1 or 2 bedroom lights that were off. But I knew that I could do it. I knew that I could step into it. And the nourishment that came after that, I don't have words for. The feeling when I was lifted back up to go over with Luke, to lie down, and was just started violently crying again on my way over, and really didn't understand what had happened, but I knew that I'd abseiled over the ledge and I'd got to the bottom, and the lights were on again, And so each process that we did allowed me to almost, it's like I was able to create, if the cell battery has gone down, it's like the battery's recharging again, like the safety barometer inside is recharging to that solid or sound capacity now. And I say that word capacity because that's what this is creating for me. It's creating, I keep saying that, I'm just not overwhelmed and I have so much more space inside. And then your answer is always, but you have so much more capacity. So what was the essence of the weekend for me? It is allowing me to have more capacity as a man.
Yeah. That's what we're getting to. Yeah.
It's a capacity to be able to be of service to my kids, but not carry their burdens. It's ability to be able to listen to you on a Wednesday night after a huge day of work, and hold you, but then know that I'm still good. It's the ability to be able to navigate with my future partner and be able to hold her, but also be able to be able to be vulnerable enough to share how I feel in moments as well. So the essence of the weekend was for me was to create more capacity in me
As a man. Yeah. I feel like the capacity of all the men through that weekend has extremely increased.
What's dropping in for me is capacity through connection.
Yeah.
Like a huge piece of it for me as well was connecting with brothers. It was sharing of stories. It was witnessing other men.
Yeah, to me that's the piece.
Yeah, witnessing other men. So that's where the connection became a lot deeper for me.
Well, that's why the expression piece for me, the scene work and stuff, is one of the most important pieces, because it's like, expression and being witnessed. All eyes on you. So in the sacred rage process and in the little boy stuff, like we witness each other, but not to the capacity we did through the expression stuff and the vulnerability and the scaredness of that process and people leaning into that. It was like, I don't know about this, but as we journeyed through that and we became more aware that this was real life practices that we get to implement right now to see how we can actually show up when our nervous system is at its capacity, and then like in the moment we are slowly increasing that range and capacity live in the moment and being like, oh, this is how I can actually feel into my capacity growing simultaneously with the stress of life in this moment. For me, I feel like there was more subtleties in what men got away from that moment on the retreat than they actually are aware of.
Yes, I've just had a huge piece drop in. One of the brothers had stood up and spoke for probably about 5 or 7 minutes about just stuff that was inside of him. One of the newer brothers, and it was just a really special moment for me because he constantly talked about, I should be feeling like this, but I am feeling like this, and this is the way that I want to be viewed, but this is the way I am being viewed, and can I be viewed like this? And I know you can right now with my words, because it's fucking dropping, the potency's dropping in for me, that in that moment he voiced exactly what the fuck I was feeling and do feel and can constantly feel in just situations in every fucking day life.
Yeah.
And he just spoke a narrative and a dialogue about exactly what was going on in his mind.
Yeah.
And it was like witnessing someone, you don't have to be like you say, Luke said, you don't have to cry. You don't have to have these big releases for things to be processed. Like you don't have to go away. I love this. You don't have to go away on the men's retreat, like because you feel like, I feel called right now that I have to go away on this retreat, and that it's with this facilitator and this person, and they're going to do these processes, and I know that this is the medicine that I need. Because I can fucking tell you, I've done podcasts with you, and I've got just as much medicine from sitting on a microphone and having a conversation with you as I have from sitting on the front seat of my car and bawling my eyes out, listening to Newton Faulkner, or whoever we were listening to, but they're all, and what you're teaching me is they're all moments, Jacob.
Yeah. They're all feelings in time.
They're all feelings, and because that process for me was phenomenal. Just the whole part from the start to the finish.
The scene stuff, or
the scene stuff.
Yeah.
The scene was the scene stuff was. you know. And the fact that like I stood up, I'm gonna talk for me, is that I stood up and I said straight away, well, I'm gonna lean into this because I always have fears. And the whole idea was that like, oh, I can't go up to the woman at the gym, or I can't go up to the woman in public and have a conversation, right? So I'm like, I'll fucking stand up. I'll show them how this is done. So I'm going to stand up. I'm going to do the thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to be brave. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be tough. I'm going to be fucking man tough. So I fucking stood up and just looked out, and I'm like, fuck me. What do I say? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go internal because I'm deep. So I'll close my eyes and I'll
perform.
Yeah,
I'll do all the things that are
internal.
perfect.
And because Jacob's like, oh, we don't want you using humor. And I'm like, I'll show Jacob. I'm with Jacob. He mentors me, so I'll do this right, and then he'll nail it. I'll nail it. He'll pat me on the back and he'll say, "Good boy."
Yeah.
These are all the things I was thinking.
Yeah.
So I stood up. Fucking hell! Absolutely no idea what I was doing. Like, I'm feeling myself, and it's inside, and like I finished, and it was what it was. And then Jacob sort of stood up and he's like, "Yeah, so." We're not just looking for people to, you know, to stand up, and I don't want people, like, everything's going to be great, but it's like I tried so fucking hard to give every man like I'm like, yeah, I'll get this because this is my bread and butter, and I'm also going to lean into it. So I've already done the right thing, and I'm going to take my piece because that was my expectation. I'll gain, and then that piece comes back like nowhere to go, nowhere to be. And
Nowhere to get, nothing to be.
Yeah, nowhere to get, nothing to be. And all of a sudden, like, once the other brother had stood up and followed his actual thread.
Yeah. And then it's like, I don't know, Danny won't care about me speaking about Danny, I don't think. But yeah, we just had this moment, like we'd had a really big day that day. And it was like, now I want these men to be creative and open, expressive and artistic, and to follow their aliveness and truth in what we say is scene work. And yeah, like one of the bros got up and did his piece first, which was really beautiful. And he's done some of this before with me. And then later on, he was just breaking down. He's just like, I feel so guilty. And I was like, why? He's like, because I'm tired. Yeah. I was like, well, fucking be tired.
I'm not of service.
Yeah. I said, you don't need to do anything. And we had this really beautiful moment where he was just like really sincere and invested in like wanting to be more present. And I was like, your presence right now in your sadness and your guilt. And I was like, there's art in just you being right now in this moment. And it was so beautiful for everyone. It was like showing everyone you don't need to get up and be anything except for just you in the exact moment. Yeah. And then each man, we just got to trickle through and see where they weren't being that, and then getting them back to who they were, which is really beautiful to witness. And it was really nice to witness at the start where I was like, oh, no one really wants to do this. And then at the end, everyone's like, no, like, I want to go. I want to have a bit. And yeah, it was just for seeing that, yeah, we can also have fun. There was also a lot of laughter, and then was bringing it back to sincerity and truth and, yeah, vulnerability and love and what we want to see artistically. You know, it became like an artistic show of, how can we meld these humans into something that looks beautiful?
What's come out of that for me is emotional shifts. And I'll touch on one of the brothers left that night. He said he'd had enough. And Jacob, one thing that I love is that Jacob honors all of us in however we're feeling. And he said, I'm going to step out. I don't want to do this anymore. So he stepped out, which is beautiful. He ended up going outside and getting some fresh air and viewed in through the window and realised that he felt like he was missing out, and that he hadn't got the medicine that he needed. But he shared that, and then we all fucking learned, you know, that there was another piece in there about us learning when we step back and step away from things. So a question that's formed for me, for you now, is that our emotions shift, right? And we always talk about them. We talk about the sliding scale. And one of the best analogies that I've been given around this was, it was put in rugby sense for me. And it was the idea that it's a sliding scale of one team's going to have the ball, right? If they have the ball, they're attacking with the ball. We're defending. We don't have our mental health at that pace. This is very early on in my mental health journey. So he said that you don't, the other team's got the ball, you don't have your mental health. When it's in the middle, so if we're talking in AFL, where the ball's on the ground, we're both we're both fighting for it, which can be at any given point of the day. And then when we've got the ball and we're in front of the set shot of goal, we're controlling the narrative, and so we've got the control of the ball. All right. And so from that scene work or that shadow work, what dropped in for me is that our emotions constantly shift on this sliding scale throughout a day, an hour, within moments that we're in. what advice can you give the listeners and the audience around this, like changing of emotions? Like that brother left, but then he really wanted to come back in. You know, like you could be in an argument with your partner, or you could be struggling at work with a colleague, and it's like, oh well, I said the thing, or I fucked up, or you know, I changed and I wanted to go and do this, and I don't want to do that anymore.
But yeah, for the analogy, I'll map it back to the analogy that you just used about not having the ball, being in dispute, sitting in front of goals. In my mind, through all that, I was like, I got the ball the whole time.
Okay.
Don't tell me I don't have the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me that they've got it and they're controlling.
Okay.
For me, I was like, no.
Yeah.
I don't like that analogy, because I'm like, Dave had the ball the whole time.
Yeah.
And I've got my ball.
Yeah.
You've got your ball.
Yeah.
You choose whatever the fuck you want to do with your ball. And
Beautiful.
that's like, I had in that moment, I said, because I was trying to track the room whether we were done.
Yeah.
And a lot of the room said, yeah, let's keep going. And Dave was like, oh, I feel complete.
Yeah.
I said, okay, cool. You don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
And then he got up and walked out. I was like, you don't know what? You also don't have to get up and leave. He's like, no, I feel like I'm done. I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, cool, bro. And then he stood out like in the lounge room and like watched us. And then I was like, you can come in. He's like, no, I'm done. I was like, all right, sweet. And then, yeah, we all finished and he came and sat back down. He's like, oh. What I realized was that I went outside and I was watching it through the window, and I felt like I was watching my life go by and watching that moment. And the medicine for me was like, yeah, I couldn't have taught him that.
Yeah.
He had to teach himself that. And he could have also come back in as well, but he wanted to sit in the, oh, this is actually what I'm doing in life. So the medicine is always there.
Yeah.
And he had the ball the whole time. And he was shooting at his goal the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's not that he missed. He just went, oh, cool. I'm going to play a different game maybe next time.
Yeah.
And be more aware of. Also, like having a choice, making a choice, and then coming back from the choice.
Yeah.
That's what I keep telling them.
Yeah, I like that.
With everyone, it's like, just if you want to go out and then in 10 minutes, you're like, actually want to come sit back in. Do you have the vulnerability and the courage enough to be like, oh, I've changed my mind. I want to come back in and take part now.
Yeah, I like that. That's the piece that's the piece I was looking for in that question. And it's something that I get a lot of comfort in when you say it, Jacob, like it's okay to change your mind and change your choices. And that was when we spoke about boundaries earlier. And I like how your analogy, like as soon as we put a boundary and then it's just black and white. So, you know, and then you find it difficult to change. One of my mates recently spoke about the fact that he wanted to take his family out on an outing for the morning, and they'd been really excited. And the kids were like, oh, we don't want to go to the park anymore. We don't want to do this. And he's like, oh, well, but we've done all the things and we're still going to go to the park because we know we're going to have fun. And then he recently said to me, like, maybe I should have just asked, you know, pivot and change, because everyone was tired and everyone was flat, and we could have just got some McDonald's hash browns and sat on the floor and watched some TV on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't mean that you can't change. So that's the piece that has been dropping in for me, and that's what I got from Dave too. That night was like, it's okay to step back and view life from your lens, right? Because that's what we're doing, is we're just viewing life from our lens, and then for me, try to understand how are you viewing life from your lens, and can we meet through, I believe now, through love, so I can view your lens a little bit better.
And it's like, do we need to either? Like, do you need to view it from my lens?
Sometimes I think I'd like to. Yeah, I do, because for me,
I think we're coming to a deeper understanding. That's like what we're actually, in our communication styles with everybody, we're actually trying to get to a point where it's like we can somewhat make sense of each other, and we can help guide each other, because we can see a bit more of an essence of how we show up. And that is inevitably what we're trying to do as humans, is to get to a point where we can understand our perspectives.
Beautiful. The last thing today I want to talk about, which has been prevalent, and I can see you getting quite tired, is that we're always talking about the work, Jacob. You and I always talk about the work and doing the work, blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
What about having fun?
I hate having fun.
I know it's shit. What about having fun? We're this afternoon, pre-framing this, Jacob and I, in about 10 minutes, are going to jump in the car. We're going down to watch. We're going down to watch Burley Bears play Tweed Seagulls, and we're going to sit there in the sun and just have some fun together.
I'm gonna get drunk.
Yeah, have several beers. But yeah, like there's a huge fun piece. So leaving the listeners today, like around the difference between constantly doing the work and actually having some fucking
The
fun.
work gets to be fun.
Okay.
Let's fucking sort that shit out.
Mm-hmm.
Is that one of the best parts on the retreat was us kicking the footy and like tapping into like the importance of that and the sincerity of like how much fun that was and us actually being present in the moment, doing the work by having fun, by being fun, knowing that we were doing the work. And it was just like, yeah, cool. Lightness.
Yeah.
And all these things are easy to talk about and where you put so much depth in life and every moment needs to matter and I'm with that. But if we're thinking about how much the moment needs to matter, we're not letting the moment matter.
Yeah. Can you say that again?
If we're, I don't know.
Yeah, that was great. That was so good. If we're thinking about
how much the moment matters, then something about the moment matters. I don't know. When that shit comes through, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that
I can rewind.
That was really beautiful. And I'm excited to actually see that when you wind it back because we're constantly thinking about what we want to gain out of each and every moment, then are we actually enjoying the moment?
Yeah, I really want this moment right now with us to matter. Well, shut the fuck up and let it matter.
Yeah. Yep. And that comes back to the
Shut
moment.
up.
One of the first questions at the start of this podcast today, and this is what I love about the fucking Alive thread, and if you actually can fucking hear it, because we've done a full circle and I asked the question, are they moments or are they feelings? And then I came to what about the future? And you're like, shut the fuck up about the future.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this is exactly it. And I love this so much that you just got to find fun.
Yeah.
In the moment and let it flow. And if it's fucking clunky on your birthday night at dinner with your best friends, then that's the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, stop expecting it to be a certain way.
Yep.
I had the best birthday this year. Tell me about it. It was Friday night of the retreat.
No.
It was just, it was wonderful. Everyone. And what felt really nice as well was it wasn't all about me. And I didn't want it to be about me. And we actually sung happy birthday and that was it. Yeah. It wasn't like I was just nourished by being there on my birthday and talking about moments that matter and memories. It's like my 37th birthday. I was on retreat with a bunch of men that I love. That's a memory that will never go. And I have the most beautiful, sentimental piece that the bros made me. Aaron made me. It was, one of the most fucking beautiful gifts I've ever received. Yeah, Aaron, bro. Yeah. Love your work.
Massive respect.
And I think I'm done.
Yep.
Today.
Me too. I am too. I actually gained, I don't know how you felt today, but to close, I gained a lot. I actually got a lot from you today.
I didn't get much from you today.
Yeah. No, but this is the piece, right? It's like, but every time when we sit down, like, you know what? That one that didn't fucking work felt so potent. And so today I'm like, fuck, I'm going to get Jacob back there and I get these fucking potent questions. So I actually spent time formulating questions and at points I'm like, that's not landing how I wanted it to. But
constructing the outcome that we want instead of...
But I actually gained so much just from your answers today.
Yeah.
You were real strong today. You had big fucking balls.
Big balls.
Big
balls, small Willy though.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. It's
I'm looking forward to the footy.
Yeah. And we'll be back next week. Small Willies and big egos. Checking out.
Peace.
Bye.